Hey everybody, welcome to the channel and thank you so much for joining me for a visit to the Udvar-Hazy Center, which is an annex of the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum and is located in Chantilly, Virginia, just south of Dulles International Airport. Let's head right into the museum. As we take a quick overview of the hangar, here's the map. I do want to take a moment to recognize the incredible generosity of the museum's benefactor, Stephen Udvar-Hazy, whose $65 million gift enabled the construction of this museum. When entering the museum, you're immediately greeted by this P-40 Kitty Hawk. Now, instead of going over every inch of the museum, we're just going to focus on some particularly notable aircraft in this video, the first of which is an aircraft which draws a lot of attention, and that's going to be the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, which was and still remains as the fastest and highest flying jet-powered airplane ever created, with a sustained speed of at least Mach 3.2 and an operating altitude of over 80,000 feet. The SR-71 was crucial to intelligence gathering during the Cold War. Of all the legendary stories of the SR-71, my favorite has to be that we sourced the titanium to build these very planes from the Soviet Union. When this particular SR-71 was retired and delivered to the Smithsonian, it was flown from its original manufacturing plant in Palmdale, California to Washington, D.C. And during that flight, it set 4 world speed records, which still stand. Another bit of fun trivia about this SR-71 is that it served as the alt mode for the Transformer Jetfire in the 2009 film Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. We'll move along. Here's a quick peek at the Cobra attack helicopter. Hey, if you're enjoying the video so far, I'd appreciate it so much if you'd please give me a like, and please consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this one. Thanks so much, and let's continue with the video. There are many exhibits within this museum. It's really cool how they have these cutaways of some of these aircraft engines where you can see inside the engine. Here's a brief look at a MiG-21. The next plane we'll spend a little time at is going to be the X-35, which was developed into the F-35 Lightning. The F-35 is intended to replace the F/A-18 Superhornet, the F-16 Fighting Falcon, and the Harrier, and is the single most expensive weapon system in the entire history of the world at a projected lifetime cost of over $2 trillion. This particular variant is the B, which is made for the Marines and is capable of vertical takeoff and landing. A pretty neat airplane for sure. Just next to the F-35 is the F/A-18 Superhornet with the Blue Angels livery. The Angels, of course, are the demonstration team for the U.S. Navy, and the F/A-18 was featured extensively in Top Gun: Maverick, starring Tom Cruise. Speaking of Top Gun, just across from the FA-18 Superhornet is the iconic F-14 Tomcat, which was in the original Top Gun. It was really terrific being able to see this jet in person. I can just hear Kenny Loggins singing about the danger zone just looking at it. It was really interesting to compare the sizes of the various planes, and the F-14 is definitely a little bit larger than I thought it would be. Moving over to the World War II section, there are some German and Japanese planes you can see, but the key attraction over here is going to be the B-29 Superfortress, the Enola Gay. On August 6, 1945, this strategic bomber became the first and thankfully one of only 2 airplanes to ever drop an atomic bomb in warfare when it deployed Little Man over Hiroshima. The silver plating variant you see here on the plane indicated that this B-29 was modified to carry nuclear weapons, and there was a little bit of controversy about displaying this airplane, but I think that history has shown that while I'm sure everyone would wish that we did not have nuclear weapons, those 2 bombings did bring a swift end to the war and ultimately saved many, many American and Japanese lives. The thing you have to remember is that despite all of the carnage of World War II, only 40 years after the war, Japan was actually able to grow into the world's 2nd largest economy, and since World War II, we've managed to avoid any large-scale conflicts over the past 80 years. So I'll get off my soapbox. With our next plane, I was really surprised at how long the Concorde was, even though I did see one over at the Intrepid Museum, but seeing it next to this aircraft really puts the size of the Concorde in perspective. This is a really big airplane. Now, the Federal Express plane right in front of it is actually the first plane that was ever used by Federal Express, but the Concorde was pretty much the only commercially available supersonic passenger jet, and it was only able to fly over the ocean because we don't want sonic booms over populated areas. Here's a brief look at the Predator drone. When you're at this museum, be sure to look up because there are a lot of great airplanes and such that are suspended from the ceilings in the hangar. Perhaps earlier you maybe saw Discovery hiding there behind the SR-71, but here's another star attraction of the museum, which is the Space Shuttle Orbiter Discovery. Discovery was the 3rd orbiter constructed behind Challenger and Columbia, and we know sadly those 2 orbiters were lost along with their crews in tragic accidents. Discovery is therefore the oldest remaining orbiter. It completed the most missions and is notable for lodging the Hubble Space Telescope into orbit. It was really amazing being able to get up close to the orbiter, and you could see all the wear and tear from the incredible temperatures, sometimes reaching up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, that the shuttle faced during re-entry. There's one notable feature about Discovery which sets it apart from the other orbiters, and that is the distinctive teardrop black tiles there on the starboard windshield. tucked into a corner not far from Discovery is a really neat object in the museum collection, and that is the model of the Mothership from the 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind, starring Richard Dreyfuss. And if you look real closely on the model, you can find an Easter egg of R2-D2. There are many other exhibits in this museum. We'll take a look at a couple more odds and ends, including some of these Gemini capsules as we wrap up our visit to the museum. I'm going to go ahead and give Udvar-Hazy my highest recommendation. This is an incredible place to visit, and if you ever visit Washington, D.C., you should absolutely find time to make the drive out here. Admission is free and parking is $15. However, here's a great tip. If you come in the last hour of the day, so about 4:30, parking is free, and so you can visit the entire museum for free. But I do feel like you really need to spend about 3 hours here to see everything, so it is well worth the $15. That's going to wrap it up for the Udvar-Hazy Center. I appreciate you so much for joining me for this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks and take care. Bye.